from the Federal Communications Commission. There are 5 commissioners at the FCC, in case you ever need to know for a cocktail party. That's interesting trivia. We have divided the country up into 81 markets to help raise consumer awareness regarding something called the digital television transition. With the Digital Television Act of 2005, Congress mandated that broadcasters must broadcast in digital only and not analog no later than February 17th, 2009. And this is very important. Several reasons why they did that. If you think about our society and technology in general, everything is going digital. Your camera has gone from a film camera to a digital camera. For those of you in the crowd old enough to remember vinyl records, we've gone from vinyl records to CDs to now MP3 players. Digital is more efficient. You can get better sound quality in the case of the record. You can get better picture quality in the case of television and video and DVDs. And this also frees up the spectrum. It's more efficient. So if you think of the radio spectrum as a rainbow of invisible light, old analog signals might have taken up this much of the spectrum to get that analog signal out there. Well, with a digital signal, you only need maybe this much spectrum. And in that smaller amount of spectrum, you can pack in a lot more information, what engineers would call throughput. And that can give you a better picture quality, better sound quality, and actually gives broadcasters a chance to broadcast in multicast streams. That is, the same broadcaster can have more channels. So they could broadcast one channel in high definition, or HD, which is sort of a subset of digital television, and not to be confused, they're similar but different, and maybe one or sometimes even 2 multicast streams. And broadcasters are experimenting with all kinds of new programming for those. For instance, Weather Plus channels, or local sports channels, or local all-news channels, or who knows what. So consumers will be able to, and are able to today, get more channels for free over the air as a result of going digital. So with all of these wonderful benefits, Congress kept them in mind. So you're probably asking one of the questions people ask before we get to the meat of the matter in terms of the need for a converter box is, well, what's going to happen to that leftover spectrum? So if digital only takes this much and analog took that much, what's happening to that leftover portion? Well, in that same statute, that same act of Congress, Congress mandated that we at the FCC auction it off, which we did earlier this year. So it'll be used for new technologies that we can't even imagine, but one that we can imagine is wireless broadband services. And if you think of that spectrum, how those TV signals travel today, they can travel long distances and can penetrate buildings, penetrate walls. And that is terrific for two-way wireless broadband, among other things. So for rural states, especially like Montana, that's going to really help with broadband penetration. But there'll be other technologies as well. As your computer and your cell phone sort of merge into the same thing over time, there'll be a lot of mobile wireless technologies too that will spring forth. So those airwaves were auctioned, and Congress required that those frequencies be cleared no later than February 17th of 2009. So who needs to worry about the DTV transition is a question we get frequently. Anyone who receives their signal through an antenna. So if you have an older television, especially one that was purchased more than 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and it receives its signal either through the old rabbit ears antenna or a rooftop antenna, and it's an older set, you are going to need to get a converter box. Now, if you subscribe to cable or satellite, you don't need to worry, assuming all of your TVs are hooked up to cable or satellite. And frequently folks have a set on the kitchen counter that's not hooked up to cable or satellite, or one in the guest bedroom or down in the basement or whatever. So try to think and see in your mind if you have any TVs that you use every now and then, they're not hooked up to cable or satellite. And if that's the case, then you will need to get a converter box. And this is a converter box. and they are easy to install. What this converter box does is it sort of sits in between your antenna, so a wire will come from your antenna into the converter box, and another wire will come out of the converter box into your TV. And it translates the new digital signals back into the old analog language, essentially, that your TV can understand, your old analog TV can understand. And as a result of that, like I said before, you will get a crisper picture. If you're used to analog TVs that have ghosts or snow, things of that nature, you'll have a sharper picture. You'll have better sound quality. Broadcasters have the ability to broadcast in surround sound. And again, those multicast channels. Those are the three big benefits. So folks often ask, you know, after they ask me, why is the government doing this to us? They'll ask, well, how much do these cost, and how am I supposed to buy this? So these range anywhere from $40 to $80. It depends on how many features you want to put onto your box. Congress, at the same time, when they set up this Digital TV Act of 2005, set up a subsidy program of $1.5 billion, and where you can get two $40 coupons per household that will go towards the purchase of these boxes. And you can get these coupons by calling 1-888-DTV-2009, or you can order them online at www.dtv2009.gov and get them that way as well. They'll take a few weeks to get to you, and they expire within 90 days. So I strongly recommend, as soon as you get the coupon, go to your favorite electronics retailer to buy your converter boxes. Don't delay. I want everyone to do this today, because time is running short. February 17th will be here before you know it. And also because some folks around the country, millions of people actually around the country, are not using their coupons in time, and they expire after 90 days. Now, if you go to your favorite electronics retailer and they are sold out of these boxes, ask them right then and there, while you're standing at the cash register, to call their 800 number and order you one. And it will be shipped to your house free of charge in most cases. That's important. Get that done. If that still doesn't work for some reason, you can go online, and if you don't have internet access, try your local library, which hopefully does, and order them online from major electronics retailers online. And they will take your coupon number over the phone. Some folks have asked, well, I have expired coupons, what do I do? And by the way, why did the FCC make them expire? Well, the FCC didn't make them expire. Congress made them expire. It's in the statute. So it's in the U.S. code that they shall expire after 90 days. So on top of that, just so people know for background, it's actually the Department of Commerce that administers the coupons, not the FCC. I just happen to have one as a prop. Okay. But what you can do, here's a couple ideas. Find a friend or a neighbor or a stranger, if they're nice, who does not have cable or satellite, but who does have cable or satellite, I should say, who does have cable or satellite, and who do not need the coupon. They can order a coupon or two for you, and they can give them to you. They do not have your name on them. They are transferable. They are 100% transferable. No name is on here, just an ID number and an expiration date. And that's one way around it. So hopefully folks can do that. Now, I think we ought to open it up to questions before I drone on for far too long. And because we are being taped and we're on TV, I will ask Bridget to, you've got the mic? Okay, we've got a mic. And if I need to restate the question, folks who are manning the cameras, please ask me to do so. I may do that anyway because it's a habit I have while I'm thinking of the answer. So.
This is not really a question, it's a couple of comments. First of all, in Montana, one of the things that we're advising everyone is to make sure when you order and buy your converter boxes to get the analog pass-through because we have 424 translators and
Can I
several
speak to that?
low power. Yes,
Let
you
me
may.
speak to that. Can I interrupt you? I apologize. I don't mean to be rude, but this does come up. Excellent point. Okay. What are called low-power TV stations and translators of full-power TV stations will continue to broadcast in analog after February 17th under this law. So it's important that you look for a box that is advertised as being analog pass-through. And if everyone could mute their cell phones, that would be a big help. Yeah, thanks. So analog pass-through is very, very important. Look for that on the box because if you live anywhere near a translator, you're receiving some signals in digital, but other signals in analog. That's very, very important to be able to see. Or your favorite community broadcaster, you want to be able to see those signals as well. Translators are frequently put in areas outside of the main signal area of a city, such as Missoula. So folks who are sort of way out in rural areas and are currently getting a signal may get all of their signals from translators, in which case they don't need to get a box. But they may not know where they live in terms of where the signals are. So it's important if you're getting a box to get an analog pass-through box. And now I'm sorry, I won't be rude. I'll let you go on to your next point.
The next point is that unless you are in the Butte-Bozeman DMA in Montana subscribing to DirecTV, you will not get local channels on satellite other than on an antenna that they hang on their dish. And if you have an analog TV set, you will still need a converter box because DirecTV does not pass through the digital signals it doesn't pass through any signals from local stations other than through an antenna.
So in the Missoula market, that's important. If you have DirecTV, the only way to get your local stations is, after February 17th especially, is to get a converter box because you have to have the...
If you have an analog set. If you have a digital set, you're fine. But if
Right.
you have an analog set, because DirecTV does not have local into local, an issue we can talk about later.
Tomorrow morning.
They simply do not work.
So I think it's important for folks to understand how to figure out if they have a digital set already. If you have a digital TV set already and you're receiving your signal over the air, if that set was purchased within the past 5 years and if it says ATSC in the back, you're probably okay. If you don't know if it says ATSC on the back and you've lost your owner's manual, the way I always lose mine, then what you could do is write down every name and number you can see on that TV set and bring it to your local electronics retailer and ask them if it's digital. Or call your broadcaster, your favorite broadcaster. They may not have the answer for you. Pardon me? Or go to the manufacturer's website. That's right. Good point. We do find that there's a high degree of correlation between folks who are free over the air only who don't have internet access, however. So websites aren't always the answer for them. But excellent point. Yes, ma'am. Let's wait for the microphone to come your way.
And how will this affect other than the DirecTV, people getting their local channels who additionally get cable or satellite? Are there any other problems with getting your local channels?
Through cable, there shouldn't be. Now, this does bring up, you're in the intermediate section of the class, I think, maybe the advanced section of the class with that question. Okay, so there is an issue regarding carriage of local broadcast stations on cable systems around the time of the DTV transition. This gets a little far afield, and I don't want to confuse people too much, but there are two ways that broadcast stations get carried by local cable operators. One is under a regime called retransmission consent. And that's basically privately negotiated contracts between the cable operator and the broadcaster. The other way is through a provision in the law called the must-carry provision, where a local broadcaster just elects to be carried. They have to be carried by the cable operator if they say, I'm electing to be carried under the must-carry provision. Some of these, well, many of these retransmission consent deadlines are coming due. They're coming due December 31st. Oh, the election's due tomorrow. Oh, that's right, coming up soon. So that's for the election for Muskerry, right? But the retransmission consent negotiated, the contracts expire December 31st. So we're looking at the FCC. I just voted. I don't know if it's been reported out yet. A notice of proposed rulemaking. You don't need to worry about this. This is for the advanced section of the class. Totally confusing. Of whether or not we should have a quiet period around the DTV transition deadline. So broadcasters with popular content, like the Super Bowl or something, can't pull their signal around the DTV transition off of cable networks. That might confuse consumers as to whether or not they are somehow affected by the DTV transition. I've now thoroughly confused everyone listening to me. So you actually, for most of you, should just forget about what I just said.
Which way did you vote?
I voted in favor of the notice of proposed rulemaking. It's just to ask the question. So it's just, we put forth questions to be answered, and that means you all have to file comments now. Ha. So, that's right. So, important, but a little far afield. So other questions? Yes, sir.
Just a comment. We are urging rural people who view their local stations by translators to apply for coupons now, because now they can get their converter boxes with a $40 credit, whereas a year from now or 2 years from now,
Yes.
they may not.
Good point. So go ahead and apply for the coupon now while there's still money in the Treasury, and get your coupon so that you can get your box today and use it. But don't delay. Now, some people do think that you need to have these coupons for like a permission slip to buy the box. I've had that question before. No, you don't have to have the coupon to buy the box. You can buy the box today out of pocket, and I'm encouraging folks who can afford to do so to do that. Certainly the coupon takes the sting out of it, but after a while, there will be a drawdown of that $1.5 billion, and at some point, there may or may not be money left. So try to act today, but get your box today if you can afford just to go out and buy your box and get wired up. And this actually leads to another point I was going to make regarding antennas. It's important to get your box wired up as soon as possible because broadcasters are broadcasting in digital today. And you may have an issue regarding your antenna. Get it wired up, and hopefully all your pictures will be better than they were before. But with digital technology actually tolerates weak signals and interference very poorly, worse than analog. If you think of analog with the snow and the ghosts, if you live far outside of town, you can still see the picture and hear the sound for the most part. Well, if it's real weak, if it's too weak, or if there's too much interference with digital, you either get a great picture or no picture at all. It's binary. It's digital. That could be fixed with your antenna. You could have an antenna issue. So hopefully the antenna you use currently will solve that problem, but it could be you need to buy another antenna, which shouldn't cost more than $20, $25, $30 or something in that ballpark to fix that problem. But we need to get going on this now so folks can iron out these wrinkles before February 17th. I don't want people to be caught in a snowstorm here in Missoula and not have TV access on February 18th. So get those boxes up and running now and iron out those antenna issues. Yes, sir. Wait for the microphone.
You mentioned folks that have a digital tuner now possibly, and elaborate on what you just said. We have a very strong signal here in Missoula. The RF signal is concentrated down on us with walls kind of below us, so we're almost a dish. You can get all the channels here with just rabbit ears if you have a south and a north window. I have it in my bedroom, and the TV's in the living room. So I'd encourage people, as you hear of all these tax dollars being spent to keep people plugged in, mostly through the emergency broadcast system, is something I'm sure you'll touch on at some point. You may have a TV now and you're not enjoying the digital world, and part of that digital world is high def. So PBS has a channel that's all the time high-def material, as well as their local channel, so they are simulcasting. There's 2 channels on the airwave now to find. So just tune in your digital tuner and tell it to look for channels. You have to scan, so as channels come on, you could scan and pick up new channels. But that would be encouraging for folks to be enjoying high-def for free. And the local broadcasters put a lot of effort and money into it, so I'm sure they'd love to have the viewership enjoying what it is on the ATSC signal.
Excellent point, and actually I want folks to understand that the new picture on your old set will not be high definition. In order to get a high definition picture, you need to buy a high definition set, which would then obviate the need for the box, because you will be buying a new TV with the chip in it already. So you won't need the box if you buy a new HD TV. But certainly, that's one of the benefits of the DTV conversion is you can, if you buy the right kind of TV, get high-definition television. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify one thing on the satellite in Montana, and that is that and this is not an endorsement of either company, but if you have local subscription through Dish, you're getting your local, and you have the local package, you get the conversion of your local channels. It is only because DirecTV has chosen to date to not carry the local channels. That's why you will still need a converter, even if you have DirecTV and have an analog TV set.
Thank you for that clarification.
Would you be able to discuss some of the lessons learned from the recent Wilmington test market?
Absolutely. So Wilmington, North Carolina became the first market in the United States to go all digital. We asked for volunteers. There are 210 TV markets in the country, and only Wilmington, North Carolina stepped forward for this experiment. Is it? Oh, good to know. We should have visited that. Maybe I'll have to come back. We used Wilmington, North Carolina as a guinea pig. Wilmington has a lot of things going for it. It's very flat. Here in Missoula, you're mountainous. It's flat as a pancake. It's a coastal town. It covers 5 counties. It has a very low percentage of over-the-air only households. I'm here in Missoula because you have at least 15%. What's the actual number? Of 19, what? 22% here in Missoula are over-the-air only households. That's an estimate, of course. It was an easier market, but you want to learn on the easier market, I think, a little bit. Some of the things we learned, first of all, were that there was a high degree of consumer awareness of the DTV transition. People were very, very much aware, thanks to the broadcasters who'd been airing public service announcements or going to the local town festival and the Blueberry Festival and all that stuff to let people know. It was also saturated, by the way, with FCC personnel, which other markets won't get to enjoy that on the same level. And then we did find that there was one broadcaster, in particular Channel 6, that had applied for and received permission to broadcast in their digital footprint a signal area that was about half the size of their analog footprint, and did not tell their viewers that as of September the 8th, and that's just for Wilmington, that about half the viewers would not be able to see Channel 6, which is an NBC affiliate in Wilmington. I learned about this well after the fact. So a significant percentage of the phone calls that we got and the broadcasters got were concerning this one issue, what happened to Channel 6. Viewers could get signals from other stations in other markets, other NBC stations, I should say, in other markets, but did not get Channel 6 out of Wilmington. So I would ask all broadcasters, and I will be talking more to the Missoula broadcasters about this, if indeed your digital footprint, your digital signal area is significantly different from your analog footprint, please educate your consumers and let them know, because they will be calling you, and they'll be calling us, and they'll be calling the senators and congressmen who regulate the broadcasters. So let's let everyone know that's the fair thing to do. So that's one of the things we learned. The other thing we learned is there was a significant percentage of folks who called because they were intimidated by anything electronic. And while this is simpler than it looks, because you don't have to deal with those three holes, really this is one for where the antenna plugs in here and it goes out there to your TV. And this sits in the middle as the translator, and then this plugs into the wall. That was a lot for some people, whether they might have been disabled or non-English speaking or elderly. So the big lesson that we learned there was the broadcasters teamed up with third-party groups such as universities. Elon University really helped us out with students manning the phones to answer questions. Third-party civic groups like the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club or churches. The local fire department actually helped wire these boxes in people's homes. So I strongly recommend that folks in Missoula contact their local broadcasters and volunteer to help with this because it's really those who are most in need. It might be shut-ins, people who can't leave their house and are maybe unable to wire up these boxes and need the most help. So hopefully we can get the broadcasters working with those groups if they're not already, and they probably are already. So those were some of the lessons learned from Wilmington. Other questions? You have some questions, I know you do.
Yes, I do have
Yes.
it. Well,
Oh, he's waiting for the mic. Sorry.
that's all right. In regards to Channel 6, the decision that they made to not broadcast to the larger area, was that a financial decision, or was it just?
I don't know the reasoning for their decision. This is, again, Channel 6 in Wilmington, North Carolina. But other stations around the country have also chosen to go this route. And even those who haven't gone this route deliberately, the digital footprint can be different from the analog footprint just by nature of the technology. So there might be some viewers who are gained, new viewers who are able now to see a signal from a particular station that couldn't see it before, and there might be some who are lost. We're hoping that's hopefully a net gain, or at worst a wash, but those viewers who will not be able to see the signal due to this slight shift will be calling and could be very, very frustrated, and understandably so. So I don't know the reasoning as to why they did that. It's a good question.
Is there a cost for broadcasters switching over to this?
There is very much a cost for broadcasters. They have to buy new equipment that's very, very expensive and put their new antennas on top of their towers. And across the country on February 17th, actually, an interesting story to watch is some broadcasters, many broadcasters currently have their digital antennas on the side of their towers and their old analog antennas still on the top of their towers to kind of oversimplify things. So I actually toured the top of the Empire State Building with a local CBS station in New York City on the night of February 17th. They're going to have a team, a crew, to hoist up the new DTV digital antenna on top of the Empire State Building at the very tippy top where King Kong hung on, okay, and then take down the analog antenna, all within maybe a 3-hour window on the night of February 17th. So let's pray for no ice storms for those folks. A question just asked, and we'll get back to you in a minute. No, that's a good question. Excellent question. Why did Congress pick February 17th, 2009? It is rumored, this does not appear in the legislative history, I don't believe, but I have it on good authority on this rumor, that falls after the Super Bowl, which is February the 1st, but before March Madness, the basketball playoffs. So it's at a time, it's odd-numbered year as well, so maybe folks will forget about it before the next election. You have some more questions, though.
Actually, my last question was about the antennas you had mentioned earlier, that some people were trying to sell antennas to people that were bogus.
We have heard the isolated and just sort of anecdotal, I don't have any specifics, that in some markets throughout the country there are unscrupulous folks, some might call them con artists, who are preying upon the lesser informed citizens that they need to buy very expensive antennas in order to receive these new digital signals. So I would hope that folks would not fall for those scams, and that they would contact their favorite local retailer or call your local broadcast station and try to get advice from them. You can also call the FCC for questions regarding that. That number is 1-888-CALL-FCC.
Thank you.
You bet.
You've answered most of the questions that I normally get, but are translators precluded from going digital now?
I think they are, aren't they? Yeah. Well, these are translators of full power stations, and I think the answer is yes to that. I don't think they can do that yet. Low powers can go digital, but not you said translators. Yeah. Low power definitely can if they wanted to. The low power TV stations requested Congress to exempt them from the DTV transition, and then I think thought twice and have now been trying to figure out how to remedy that situation.
There is a website, www.antennaweb.org, that people can go to. You plug in your zip code, and it will tell you what kind of antenna you need, and it's just a matter of whether you need a UHF, a VHF, or a combination antenna that you can buy at most electronics places for $29.95. You don't need anything really exotic. The other thing about antennas that I think Wilmington showed in our...
Advanced questions here. This is the AP class. Other questions, comments?
I'll make an easier one for you.
Oh, thank you.
What's your biggest fear for February 17th?
The biggest fear is that there will be more people left behind on that date than we would like. So I'm very appreciative of all the broadcasters throughout the country who are helping to educate their viewers now. I would recommend actually something I'm learning not from Wilmington, but from going around the country and indirectly from Wilmington, that broadcasters maybe have an infomercial, like a rolling roadblock infomercial, explaining to folks how to buy the box and get the box, but also to install the box and repeat it a few times. I also think these soft switchovers are very, very helpful. In fact, in Boise, Idaho, just an hour ago or so, they had a soft switchover, which is a temporary switch where you beam a special message to those folks who have analog only. And the message basically says, if you can see this message, you need to go get a converter box and hook it up. And those are very, very helpful. They're easy to do, so I would strongly recommend broadcasters do that as well. But in tandem with some infomercials of, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes or so, or longer if you want. But that gets expensive, I realize, but won't be as expensive as losing a bunch of viewers on February the 18th. So I would really, really recommend that you all do that.
One last thing, and I'll give up the mic for the night. One of the things that was surprising about the Wilmington experiment was that a number of people thought that they could not hook up their boxes until February 17th. And the truth is, you can hook them up right now. If you have the box, hook them up. You don't have to wait until the transition comes to make the thing work.
If folks listening and watching right now or reporting on this, remember only one thing I say tonight. Act today. Get your converter box today. Hook it up today to your set. Because you're absolutely right. You don't have to wait. That was some of the callers calling from Wilmington thought they had to wait until game day, basically, to wire it up. And so I'm really trying to stress that point, which is act today and enjoy the benefits of digital television today. For the vast, vast, vast majority of people, it's going to be a wonderful experience with that better picture quality, better sound quality, and the multicast channels. So act today. And I thought I was going to end on that point, but we have one more question in the back. It's going to be a really advanced question. This is like the PhD
No question.
section.
I'll share a little info, I guess.
Okay.
On the note, asking if there's any detriments to the station switching now. All the broadcasters except for Fox are broadcasting a DTV signal today. So if you have that new digital TV and you're worried you're going to miss some channels or something, you would have to use your analog tuner to still get Fox over the air, but everybody else is sending out that DTV signal.
And you're
So-
talking about the Fox affiliate here in Missoula?
Yeah, locally, and that's the only one I know at
Right.
this point. So you can safely switch over and get, all your channels, and not have to be bouncing between modes or inputs or tuners. I think that's the American
If you get
nightmare
that
for most
analog
people.
pass-through box, you can still, today, you can watch Fox today and all the DTV
There you go.
channels.
So there's somebody that would potentially have a use for a short term, at least,
Right.
until we see that come on. And
Yep.
picture quality is great, and especially the sound. So I commend local broadcasters that have done, I think, a great job. As long as they remember to flip the switch on Jay Leno after commercials, it's all good. So it goes back to high def.
Okay. Whoop, wait for the mic.
Are there many stations across the country that have not filed for their digital license and therefore will be turning off as of February 17th?
Oh, just shutting down
Full power
altogether.
analog stations.
Full power. I'm not aware of any full power that is quitting because of this, but do you know, Rosemary? I haven't heard that as being a big problem. Some of them are behind schedule. Some in Montana are even behind schedule, but, so we're hoping to light a fire under their chair.
Have they
But,
got, do they get an extension?
They can't statutorily. They have to go. It's in the statute. It's a very unforgiving deadline of February 17th. They've got to be ready. The full powers. Well, they could be met with the fines and penalties at the commission. Yeah, license revocation ultimately.
Not an automatic license?
Pardon?
Not an automatic license?
I don't know if we've decided that yet. So we want to keep that uncertain and murky. So.
Maybe if you tell them yes, they would do it.
Maybe. We're trying to work with them now. Bring them along. No, this isn't money. I'm trying to bring them along. I'm pulling a rope.
So far as the stations in Montana that haven't converted over, are there any of those that will affect the local Missoula area?
I think they will all be ready by the time they need to be ready. In the meantime, folks should get an analog pass-through box so they can receive analog signals until all the stations are ready.
Just one technical comment on the do it now, get your converter box now, and enjoy the digital TVs that are available. 3 of the 5 stations.
You're not going to say don't do that. Are you? You're
No,
not gonna
3 of
disagree
the
with
5
me.
stations in Missoula will be changing channels on February 17th. So people will need to
Yes,
remember to
good point.
rescan their converter boxes.
That's a
on
very
the
good point,
17th.
actually. What we're talking about there is these boxes will scan the airwaves looking for the channels that are active, that are occupied. And then it'll set them in their memory, in its memory. As of, or the day after, actually February 18th is when they need to do this, so it's because it's midnight, February 17th. You might want to have your box rescan. So broadcasters are going to get calls about this. I could watch you on the 17th, but not on the 18th. So have your box rescan, and sometimes if you get a new antenna too, have it rescan, because the new antenna will be able to find those new signals and set it in its memory. That's a very, very good point. Thank you. Any other salient points? You want me to do final comments? Thank you all very much. Please spread the word. If you remember nothing else, it's what?
Act now.
Act today and get the box today and wire it up today. We heard about one lady who called in and said, well, I got the box. It's not working. And this is a true story. And she was asked on the phone, well, can you describe to me how you install the box? She said, oh, it's on my dining room table. So we need to make sure we work through those little wrinkles. So act today and get it wired today. Thank you all very, very much. You've been a terrific audience, and we will see you around town.